Nibe, my people, wash poppin'. The Igbo Blondie is bringing Kasa back to your screens with that perfect blend of entertainment and pop culture. And today we're touching on some sensitive topics, starting off with a question we saw on Twitter that reads, should interns feel obligated to getting paid? And then we will talk about adult friendship expectations. And the itch today has an exciting twist for you. My guest and I are ready, so let's dive right in. Welcome to Kasa. Welcome back to the show, my people. Now, as we know, Twitter isn't such a safe space, and that's majorly where all the buzz on the internet happens. Now, a lady started a question thread on Twitter that resulted in I pass my neighbor style dragging, and we're going to talk about it today. Of course, you know I'm not doing this alone. I've got Nigerian actor and television presenter Patrick Ekuwem sitting right here on my seat. I would have said on my couch, but on my seat here. How are you doing, Patrick?
I love the way you introduce me.
Is that not?
It's like a talking drum thing. It's like a town crier thing. I love the way you introduce me.
Okay, nice. And also we have the very beautiful, the very gorgeous, the very stunning Nigerian writer and author Jajduel, who, let me just give you a secret, you guys, she bears my name as well. That's her middle name. Jajduel, how you doing, Jajduel?
I'm fine, thank you. That's actually my first name.
Your first name?
Yeah.
There's something going on here, you guys. I mean, this is one of those days on the show where my guests get to, match colors because they were both wearing black, and I'm the only one that is not matching today. Why do I feel like the vibe is going to be vibing. What do you think?
You did not get the memo.
I did get the memo, but
we
will figure that out later on the show. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get right into this tweet from Foza Billions, the Oracle, which reads, why do interns feel obligated to getting paid? Law. So before we even continue, my guests, what's your answer to this question from Foza? What's your answer? Let's do ladies first. Why do interns feel obligated? Or when you see that kind of tweet, what's the first thing that's coming to your mind?
So perhaps I have an issue with the word obligated. Should interns be obligated to being paid for, being an intern? Yes, they should be. Okay. They should feel obligated. But for me, I think it's a value thing. It is how much value. I was having a conversation with a friend in the car today, and he said, when you go to school, are you being paid to go to school? So I said the difference there now is when I got in, I'm a petroleum engineer by study. When I got into the university, I didn't know anything about petroleum engineering. Yeah. I just had an idea about what I wanted to study. Yeah. So I have acquired the knowledge. Now in internship, it is a bit different because I have the knowledge, but I don't have the practical I don't have the practical knowledge. So I have an idea of what I'm doing. I just need to put it to practice. So it's not a, so I feel like
that might be different sometimes because personally I studied broadcasting, mass communication, and I majored in broadcasting and PR and advertising. Okay. But most of what I learned in school were most like, they will teach you, the laws of
But do you agree that was like a strong foundation for how you have honed your skill to excel in this area?
The amount of knowledge I learned on the field.
Yeah,
it's probably not compared to what I learned in school.
Let me
hear from you, Patrick.
I feel like that disparity might have to do with the different professions because coming from someone in the arts as well, I can tell you being on the field is a whole other thing than learning in a classroom and also learning in a classroom from a lecturer who is actually not doing what you're trying to do. It's a whole different thing, I'll tell you that. But in terms of relating to the question, I think they should feel obligated to receive pay because
you're putting in work.
Yeah, it's effectively it's work. Okay. And even if you say you're selling work experience, it's still work. So part of the experience of working is the experience of getting paid for your work.
Okay. So now, of course, this tweet sparked, a series of outrage and responses ranging from explanations to lashing out. And I think this lady was ready for the heat she brought on herself. With over 200 retweets and over 3,600 quote tweets, with most of them lashing out, here are a few responses to consider. Josh Omaye wrote, most people get paid for time, not for expertise. In that amount of time that they make themselves available available to you per contract. Whatever work they do will depend on the task you give them. They don't decide the level of work you give them. They just need to show up. Of course, which, Temi Oluwa responded writing, not necessarily true. Most people get paid for their knowledge and expertise. And this isn't a tweet against interns getting paid, but if you run a business, would you pay someone just for their time and not for their expertise? I personally believe that before you get to the point where you can be paid for your time alone, your expertise have to have gotten to be like top notch before you get to that point. But I want to hear from my guest.
When they say time, what exactly do they mean? You just come to the office and sit down.
Because
you're doing something with the
That's why I
time.
would ask now, do you agree with Josh that maybe, it implies that people should get paid for their time, or with Temi Oluwa that says, your expertise is more important at this point? Because some people like, I came, the point is I arrived, and the work did not get done, I need to still get paid.
Yeah, like I think they're coming from the position where you're saying, well, if it's time, then maybe it's time where the person is coming in to learn. So you're learning the work, and perhaps you're not really offering that much value from an expertise standpoint, because there's only so much you can give when you do not know. That being said, if you're familiar with the internship systems that we have in this country, you will do work. You're actually going to do work.
You do actual work.
Exactly.
Yes, so that's where we're coming from, the point that you get to work.
Yes.
So do you agree? Is it based on the time or the expertise?
Both.
I think it's both. I definitely think it's both.
Yes.
You will get paid. Like you're spending time utilizing.
I feel like when it comes to time and expertise, right? You have
if we're being
have a
honest,
certain level of expertise before you can charge for your time.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a certain level of expertise I've gathered that if you tell me come host an event, and I show up there, and then your event does not happen, I'm not refunding. I have showed up. I'm here. You give me time and place. So there's a certain level. There's a certain time you can't do that, because now if I'm coming to learn from you, I can't say, oh, I'm coming. But I mean, imagine for instance, I want to be a mechanic and I want to learn. I go to meet a mechanic and tell him I want to learn from your guy. Would he pay me?
So I think, just like you said earlier, it depends on the field or the industry that you find yourself. Perhaps I've been looking at this from the perspective of being in the corporate world, a typical 9 to 5. If it is a typical 9 to 5, I genuinely think that an intern is obligated to whatever services that you're rendering for you. Because the truth is, for what I know, I've been an intern, we get to even do most of the work. Because you're dealing with your own job, another person you have the executives pushing their work to you as well.
Yeah.
So in some sort of way, interns actually
do
put in a
actual
lot of work
and not just come to learn.
So they should be paid. But then there's the other part of value. Now, when you come to the creative space, I would personally say, if I'm going to be at a strategic position in the creative space, wherever I'm interning, that actually spotlights on my talent, I can actually get value. I can actually receive, what's the word now? What's the word? I can receive. I can rather choose to say the experience you're giving me is the value for the work that I'm putting in.
It's not working.
But if it is,
it's not working because at many times that can be abused. And then you have people who will put a ton of work on your shoulders but not give you any financial gratification. So I'll just quickly touch on, because you mentioned something, and that's a whole different dynamic in terms of apprenticeship. People who work for mechanics, plumbing, that type of carpentry, and you're in a position where you pay to learn these things. And that's if you can, come watch, see what happens. But the moment you're effectively a part of the labor, I think even if it's not a full...
Well, for you to learn, sometimes you have to practice in the labor.
Yes, exactly.
You
most of the time.
Exactly.
They're not giving you their knowledge, but you're practicing what they're teaching you.
I just feel like there should be some level of financial gratification.
Yes.
Even if it's not complete, just a little level of financial gratification.
Now, furthermore, Toby Loba quoted Foza's tweet saying, interns work and contribute to generate revenue for their organizations. Working and not getting paid in this current economy is torture. Now, of course, of which she replied, Foza replied saying, if they're not generating revenue. So what if they're not generating revenue?
But they are adding to the manpower that is generating the revenue.
Yeah.
So they may not necessarily be generating the revenue, per se, putting in the exact expertise. But if care is not taken, they are a major part of the workforce. For example, I've worked as a business development manager before. I come up with the ideas, write the proposals, look out for the opportunities for my company, and the people who get to do like I want to use the word dirty work, but I mean like people who like go to the field, do the marketing, do the movements, are the interns. You know, so they're sort of like the executors.
Doing the whole work.
Exactly. So I mean, they add to the revenue.
That they should be at least compensated for the transport.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Like, I saw that point, and then that makes perfect sense. If you're not yet in a position where they're making tangible difference into how much money the business is making, you at least compensate them for transportation and the rest. And if they are adding value to the company, especially financially, there's got to be some form of financial gratification.
I mean, we all agree that at least they should be paid when they bring about what. Then here's the thing. Now, Fosa still went ahead to now talk about the fact that some people are seeing it that the problem is that many people hire interns to do actual people's job. So I can understand the arguments for them being paid. However, my context is for student interns that do actual intern work, which is under training. So, but people now still do not agree. A lot of people still did not agree. I'm still blushing that she's trying to do slavery.
It's still the same thing. It's still the same thing because you're putting in work. I take, for instance, in the petroleum engineering field, when I did my IT, you still, when you go to the field, you just don't fold your arms and say, that's how it's done. You still put in the work.
To learn, you actually have to, actively be in that role, because most times when you passively learn, you can't actually do the work until you actively learn.
Well, here's the thing. If you're talking about doing that in a controlled environment created by, wherever it is that you're interning, if they create a simulation of you working, then of course you're not going to be entitled to pay for that, because we're not talking about a real thing. And that actually happens. So take, for example, I was in acting school, and one of the projects that we do in acting school is we actually create a short film where we act, direct, produce, everything. We do it by ourselves. Now, no one is going to, it's not a business, no one is going to give us revenue, we're not going to make any money from it, because the school itself creates the environment. But if you're telling me that I come to intern and then I'm taken to a movie set, an actual movie set, and I'm performing on a movie set, you're going to, you have to pay.
I get where we're all coming from.
Because the truth is, I know they say, I know that companies or employers try to make it seem like interns are just extreme amateurs, that we're just trying to help them learn. But the truth is, at the end of the day, they still spot for potential. They still ensure that the interns that they are taking in are qualified. They go through tests, they go through exams that eventually qualifies them to be interns in the organization. So at the end of the day, they're putting in work.
I get where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. Like, from my perspective, an intern is supposed to be an understudy, not someone you give, jobs like a person who already has experience, but someone you teach and then train into a new field, and they can in turn monetize the knowledge that they have gathered. If you intend to engage said person with job for people with experience, please pay. Now, if not, the rest is at your discretion. We've got our second story knocking on our door, and we're itching to get right into it. After the break, stay with us. Welcome back to the show, my people. Now let's talk about adult friendships, which nobody told us would be this hard to keep up with. I mean, I'm only just realizing that growing up, the only friends I knew my parents to have, were neighbors, church members, family friends, and relatives that could, make visits on certain Sundays. There was never that friend from high school, that friend from university, blah, blah, blah. And now we don't have to imagine how possible that was, because we are already living that life. I saw this post on Instagram that read, "Y'all put too much pressure on friends. We are all grown up now. If a friend can't make it, they can't make it. If you ain't talked to your friend in 2 weeks, that's okay. If they got to sit out your birthday festivities because money funny, that's okay. We're grown now, got kids, husbands and boyfriends, wives and girlfriends, careers. It's just not enough time in a day to give your man, kids, customers, clients, work, friends, siblings, etc. 100% and still be mentally stable. We're at an age now where it's when we see each other, we see each other. When we do, be present and love on each other during that time." Now, I can't be the only one that can totally relate to this post. Can you guys relate? Can you relate?
Absolutely.
I relate, but then I have some reservations too. Because I think that sometimes genuinely some friends just hide behind this and say, oh, everybody's busy, everybody's busy. There are certain things that I have done or that I do, you know, to be intentional about my friendship as an adult.
Okay.
I understand that adult friendship comes with a lot of intentionality now because everybody's engaged.
Yeah.
There's some things that I do, and you know, it just shows that you care. Because the truth is, something happened to me one time. I was postponing calling a friend.
Oh.
But then there was a time that I needed something urgently, and suddenly I had all the time in the world to call this person. You realize that all along you had time, but it was just priority.
Yeah.
So I set alarms. Oh, remember to call Chike today. Remember to call Ada today. You know, and then I add my friends to like a broadcast group. They're not aware. So from time to time, maybe once in a week, I just say hi everybody, and once everybody's responding, I'm responding to them at once.
Yeah.
So I actually think that it's a place of priority if you really genuinely care about people.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. You could relate.
I mean, I definitely can relate to that. It's hard. It gets harder as you grow up and you have all these different responsibilities. I actually had this conversation with a friend. I typically have this conversation with a friend. And what we say is that as you grow up, you find that you're becoming more and more removed from, you know, situations where you need to socialize as a matter of mandatory. You know, you've been in primary school, so you have primary classmates that you socialize with, and then in secondary school, and then it's uni. But once you leave that dynamic and you're more on your own and no one mandates of you to be in these places, then as an adult, you select where you go most of the time. And then it's now consequential to your finances as well, because now a visit isn't, you know, it's not. If
it's not adding up, it's not adding up.
You understand? You know,
if the money is not money.
Exactly.
It's not
so you have a friend, they live in Aja, then you live somewhere in maybe Egbeda.
We see when we see, my dear.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, Saida on Twitter wrote, adult friendships are harder to maintain because it's so many moving parts in trying to figure yourself out and your life out as adults. You have to literally care and put in the work to keep the friendship afloat.
Exactly.
It has to be mutual energy. While Brit wrote, adult friendship get more distant as we get older. For some people, not everybody. Now, do we agree that it's not everybody? And can adult friendship survive if the energy isn't mutual? If it's maybe from one person's side, can it still survive?
I don't think it can. As someone who has experienced that, I don't think it can. And I think I agree with the person that says that, you know, as we progress as adults, it's no longer realize that you now have to just do selective friendship.
Yeah.
And it's important because as we are growing as adults, we realize that also our values are changing, our interests are changing.
Yeah.
So that's why everybody's concerned about circle. Or everybody's saying I have small circle. The truth is, it's not saying we intentionally want to have small circle. It's the situation
Life
of things.
just happens.
Yeah, you have to have a small circle to keep up with all your friends. So, but I think that if you're being intentional, you know, about a particular friend, although there's a place of entitlement, but then if you have been intentional about a friendship with an individual for a while and there's no reciprocation, I think you should actually take your energy out of that.
Let me hear you real quick.
Big on the intentionality because when you were younger, you didn't need to be too intentional.
Yeah.
It flowed
Anything
naturally.
happened.
You knew you would meet
Bump
your
into
friends in
each other in
class.
school,
You knew you would meet in school.
in
It was
church.
very, very casual
And as
for
long
you
as
to
there's
go
class,
to
you
a
will see
party
each other.
or
Yeah.
something. But now, if you're going to keep a friend, there's actually a thought process that you need to go through now and actually put it in mind like, okay, I'm trying to make this friendship work.
Yeah, so
and
if you're
that
not doing
extra
the
layer
same,
of thought makes it more difficult than it used to be.
I mean, on the other hand, Kay on Twitter is grabbing us by the horns with responsibility. And she wrote, maybe you can't sustain friends as an adult because you haven't made the mental transition that adult friendships are intentional relationships that require levels of effort that were not required for childhood, adolescent friendship. Is it really possible that we're not putting in, you know, all the intention when it comes to our friendships?
Well, it's difficult for some people to navigate. I would have to think so because no one actually teaches this in class. There's not any book to teach you how to make these changes. You're just naturally supposed to know, and not everyone can automatically do that.
Okay. As quick as possible, we need to put more intention, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I mean, I would personally say we need to actually try because, I mean, somebody on Twitter actually also said that it's not really easy. We are dying right here. We are struggling. I mean, we're really fighting for our lives. And I can also tell you that for sure we're all struggling that same struggle. It's really not an easy one for us to do, and we will somehow find our way through it. Eventually, I hope we do, walk through those waters. The itch is knocking on our door, you guys. we have a really interesting itch coming. It has a quick twist, and we'll be right into it after the quick break. Okay, you guys, I told you the itch has a quick twist to it. I like today's one. So we're going to see some things that we're going to choose epic. My guests have these cards with them. Can I see your cards?
We do.
One side shows epic fail. One side shows epic. One side shows fail. So it's either it's epic or it's an epic fail. Okay, so first up we have Bobrisky gets BBL surgery. Have you guys seen it? It is something that we did not want to see. Did you see how he was working? Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my, yes, my goodness. Yes.
Oh my days.
Oh yes, your days, honey. That's what I saw a picture. I actually saw a video where it wasn't covered, right? It wasn't actually covered. I saw a video, it wasn't covered. And then, you know, I could see like a line. At first, I felt like this guy wore this thing. He did not really do that thing. He wore it. And he's being dramatic walking like that. So for you, the guys, are epic or fail?
Well, doesn't it hurt?
Epic or fail, my guys? It had to be a fail. It had to be. I mean, for me, it's an epic fail.
Yes.
Because why?
I was about to say.
Why? Okay, let's move on to the next one.
It looks like he's in pain.
It's severe pains. Okay, now let's move on. NBA legend Dennis Rodman tattoos his girlfriend's face on his cheeks, on his face. This.
It's giving psychopaths.
It's giving what?
It's giving psychopaths.
It's a whole feel. Like, why is your face on her face? Why is her face on your face?
Look. I have a specific problem
with that.
With when I see men do things like this.
Oh my God.
Wait. When you see men.
When I see men
we
do
don't
things.
have time.
Or people.
Oh, no. You can have the people debate. I specifically am irked when I see men do things like that.
Why
we
just
would have
men?
this argument after the show, you guys. Okay, I really do love today's twist on the itch. And I got to just admit that there's a lot of crazy things going on in this world, you guys. My people, you people, where you small, do small, just easy, remove it, is okay at this point. Nibe, my people, we have come to the end of the show today. Now, I always tell you to be kinder with your words on the internet, but one thing I need to add today is that you should be kinder to your friends. We're all going through a whole lot. Until I see you next week, Yaga Zero Guitar. Have a nice day.